Crypto bros, I am looking at 2026 now for a pump or a bull run. Because honestly, 2025, based on news we've seen today, looks pretty dire. We're looking at a record breaking, by a long shot, government shutdown that will last perhaps until the end of November or even longer. There doesn't really seem to be an end in sight because the healthcare issue is basically blocking everything. Democrats want to extend the ACA tax credits for low-income families. Republicans do not. They got to pay for the tax cuts for the wealthy somehow. So the two are actually in direct contradiction to each other. And it looks like there's not going to be a compromise anytime soon. And if you look over on Polymarket, you will see that they're betting that the government shutdown won't end until the end of November, making it roughly a month and a half government shutdown. The longest period so far has been 35 days. This would beat it by at least 10 or 15 days. So they're going to break that. The last one also happened under Trump in 2019. And the majority of them are predicting a lengthy shutdown. And 25% of Polymarket bettors predict that the U.S. government shutdown will last until at least November 16th. And that would be 46 days, topping the 35 that we were actually shut down. So if you look at the odds right now, you look at when will the government shutdown end? October 19th through 22nd. I think that would be this week. 2%, almost nothing. 26th through 23rd to 26, 13%. 27th through 30th, next week, 15%, 31st through November 3rd, 18%. If you look at the biggest percentage, 16 plus. And if you add them up, sometime in November or even December would actually be the majority bet, because if you look at it, I think this adds up to more than 50. 9 plus 9, 18. 18, 25 plus 28, 53% think it's going to be November 4th or later, and that would be starting to break some records. And why does that actually matter? Remember, the government shutdown actually happened, earlier this month, at the beginning of this month, and however long the government shut down will also be however much the ETF is delayed on other things. Yes, we will still get the rate cuts, and that'll boost it a little bit, but I think some people are looking for a safer way to invest in alts, and that is the ETFs. Now, one of the Solana ETFs did come through, but right now we're not seeing the large amount of ETFs come through that we expected. And so, unfortunately, that's going to shut down some things. Also, that also delays any possible money printing that we can get as well, because I don't think they're going to start printing money when the government is actually shut down. And I think the standoff will last quite a while. So unfortunately, we're kind of stuck in the mud right now. Also, if you look at next year, we're going to get a lot more rate cuts. Although 2 more rate cuts this year actually is quite good, unfortunately, that still does not get us anywhere close to 2%. Now, mid next year, we're going to get Trump's guy in the FOMC, and he could cut by 100 basis points all at once. And Trump, remember, wants to cut the interest rate to 1% or lower. And I think whoever he appoints is going to do basically exactly what he wants and basically cut rates down that far. Now, that will probably be disastrous for the economy in the long run over the next couple of years. But if you want that sudden burst, that could be what they have to do. It'll burst up, crypto will basically go up because of the sudden rate cuts and possibly money printing next year, and then basically drop back down right afterwards once the midterm is over and he no longer needs your votes at that point. So I do expect perhaps a big pump next year, maybe not this year, because everything is actually delayed. Now, I don't think the big whales are actually selling. Yes, there has definitely been outflows in the Bitcoin ETF for sure, but that's mainly just small guys basically selling the Bitcoin ETF as prices sink. So right now for this year, I really don't see people's sentiment on the economy changing. And although the sentiment on the economy might not change next year, people might want to get in on these risky assets because they know since the rates are going to be cut really down, they want to get in on some high growth assets before the inflation hits And that could ultimately spark that bull run that we've been waiting for. And also, if the 4-year cycle is broken, there's no saying that we have to go down. We only follow the 4-year cycle, and it has to go down after this winter because the 4-year cycle exists. If the cycle breaks, we might not have to wait for another 2 or 3 years before a major pump. Then the cycle will depend more on economic events and news rather than this set 4-year cycle. Remember, a lot of the 4-year cycle predictions are going to be wrong if we don't have a major pump by the end of this year, if we don't reach an all-time high. A lot of people have been essentially just basically shilling Ben Cowan's predictions, but for Cowan's predictions to be correct, essentially we have to go to a higher high and we have to have an altcoin run sometime toward the end of this year. If we don't really get that, then his predictions kind of go out the window, as do a lot of them. And I think TA people are going to start crying because their technical analysis, all of them almost depend on this 4-year cycle somewhat. And if the 4-year cycle gets thrown out the window, they don't really have a good template to basically base their technical analysis on, at least for the long term. And a lot of them are going to end up being wrong. I mean, a lot of them have already been wrong this cycle, but they're going to be even more wrong if the 4-year cycle goes out the window. If the 4-year cycle goes out the window, there is absolutely nothing stopping. There's absolutely nothing basically stopping a bull run from happening next year. The other thing is Trump is going to meet with Xi on October 31st. And we know that these tariffs are going to hit November 1st. I think like they might pause the tariffs, but they won't suspend them altogether, the new ones. I think they're going to like agree to a pause, but I don't think they're actually going to agree to any kind of real agreement because China is always going to make maneuvers to counter the broad-based tariffs that the US has put on everyone else. So Donald Trump confirmed on Sunday that on Halloween, he is meeting China's Xi Jinping. I'm assuming they'll both be wearing clown outfits at Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in Seoul. South Korea slated to begin on August 31st. We're going to meet in a couple of weeks. We're going to meet in South Korea where President Xi and other people too. Xi Jinping is a very strong leader, very amazing man. You can look at what he's done, where he is in his life. It's an amazing story. It's a story for a great movie. I think we're going to be fine with China, but we have to have a fair deal. It's going to be fair. Now, because of that, I don't think China is really going to give in either. So because they're not going to give in, I think we're going to be stuck in this trade war for a while now. He's trying to lap praise on Xi Jinping now because she's someone that he really wants to be because he wants that kind of power in the United States, but he can't get it, at least not yet, with our system of government. He did previously say there was no reason to meet Xi Jinping at APEC Summit in South Korea, which is the summit he is going to meet him, followed by announcement of additional trade tariffs on China. But I don't think Trump really wants to fight this trade war either. At least maybe some of his advisors actually got to him, saying that this trade war would actually hurt the United States as well. I think if the negotiations fall through, we're going to see further losses, but not only in the crypto market, in the stock market as well. So he probably wants to actually avoid that. So the social media post from Trump ignited a cascade of nearly $20 billion in liquidations that happened, I think, last week or the week before in the crypto derivatives market, the worst crypto liquidation in history, which is even worse than FTX, which was exacerbated by a perfect storm of leverage, thin liquidity, and excessive risk. And obviously, like we've regained a little bit because of de-escalation of trade tensions. Trump is looking more amiable to make a deal. Like they might actually make a deal where everything just basically goes back to what it was before and both sides kind of declare victory. But China is probably going to restrain or like restrict exports on rare earths as long as America has those earlier trade tariffs on China because like Xi obviously does not want to lose face and obviously he doesn't want to see America take advantage at that point. Market sentiment basically hit a 6-month low in lieu of the crash. And if a deal is not made and we have actually those tariffs come on November 1st, it could return to that low. So we could be seeing a return to 105, maybe even 102, maybe even under 100 after that meeting, depending on how it comes out. I don't think it'll actually move markets much because I do think they'll go for like a stay in the current negotiations until something actually gets worked out. And I don't think anything's going to be worked out at the summit, but we can hope that like there's like an impasse right now where people can actually take a little bit of a breather before these tariffs start, because otherwise it's going to get very, very ugly. So that's another thing pushing the bull run back. Definitely uncertainty in the trade market. And uncertainty is not going to end on Halloween. It's probably not going to end for several weeks afterwards until they hammer out something, or unless the trade war actually starts. We also have people wondering what's going to happen with Trump's tariffs. Are they going to be deemed illegal or not? And what's he going to do if they are deemed illegal? But also the government shutdown lasting more than a month could actually just push the bull run back a month or two. Now, I say push the bull run back because I'm being optimistic and hoping that it won't just cancel it altogether. I'm hoping at that point the 4-year cycle will no longer apply and we can actually run up anytime. And with massive interest rate cuts plus possibly QE happening in 2026, that can definitely be the case. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.